paints the face that laughs, borrows sorrow from my past. Fools in red have lain to bed. Her smile, my name, our whisper. I'm going home. It's an ugly world out there. Where are you heading, stranger? A town of oasis. A frequent stop. Is it far? As far as everywhere else. You going back for anyone in particular? I don't remember. You will. How long were you given? Seven days.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. We are on Delirium episode 2, and I can't believe it's already episode 2 and haven't been canceled. I appreciate you stopping by tonight. We're gonna have a good night. I hope that you enjoyed that intro. Two people helped create that. One was one of the creators that's going to be on as a guest tonight. The other is Chaz Freeze. So Chaz, I really appreciate you making that video, and it means a lot to me. As always, I want to thank Helvetica and Lady V for allowing me to do this on this channel. I know that it wasn't originally for this, but it has blossomed into this, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. Before we get on with the guest tonight, we actually have a sponsor that I need to plug. So let's talk about tonight's sponsor. Tonight's show is brought to you by Mini Dr. Pepper. Do you need that shot of caffeine to get started in the morning, but coffee tastes like monkey butt? Try Mini Dr. Pepper. Same great taste as regular Dr. Pepper, but it's not too much to start your day. But hey, it's not just for the mornings. Whether you're at work and your bitchy boss is on your case, or you're stuck at home with some badass kids, you need a little Mini Dr. Pepper to get through the day. It'll give you the boost to keep going. Dr. Pepper. Fuck Coke. Anyway, tonight we're going to get started with the guests that you're all here to see. We're going to, Lady V, don't get me started on Dr. Thunder already. My first guest, he is the creator of Beatbox and Tune, a fantastic little comic book we're going to talk a lot about tonight. I've been fortunate enough to get hard copies, digital copies, and I printed some of my own without telling them, Xeroxed them. But his name is Nathaniel Foster, and we're going to get him in on this stream right here. Nathan, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? I was enjoying that intro.
You're talking about the intro with the video and everything, right?
Yeah, but also I really love that shout out to Coca-Cola there.
Oh no, Dr. Pepper. Fuck Coke. No, hey, I really appreciate you stopping by, man.
And no, I really appreciate being here. I'm thrilled to be doing this and talk about the book and just, chop it up with you and Sebastian.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. Speaking of, we're going to get our next guest in here. He is the creator of The Untamed, A Sinner's Prayer, and the entire world of Asunda, and it's heroine Niobe, you may have seen in various comics. But we're going to go ahead and get him in here. His name is Sebastian Jones. Sebastian, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me. Hey, guys. Hey, Ty. Hey, Nathaniel. And hey, everyone in the MadHouse. What's up, everybody?
Live from the MadHouse. No, we're gonna have a good night. Before I shout out everyone who's in the chat, I have to ask that the ferryman, that's you, right?
That's me. That's I think that was the start and the ending of my voiceover career.
I was going to ask if that was your voice acting debut.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I used to do a little bit of voice acting back in the days. But have you guys seen the show Eureka?
No, not yet.
You remember Eureka on the Sci-Fi Channel? So the guy that plays the stranger is an actor called Ed Quinn. So if you don't know Ed Quinn, look up Ed Quinn. You might recognize him from the odd TV show. But anyway, yeah, that was me as the ferryman ferrying souls.
Yeah, I thought it was a very fitting intro for tonight, so I wanted to toss that in there.
It was comforting. You could ferry me anytime.
It's the voice, isn't it? It's the accent.
It is, yeah. It was almost soothing, but also very ominous.
As with last time, folks, if you see me looking away from the camera, I apologize. I'm running the computer. I'm running the videos, running it all at once. So I'm also trying to look over here and watch their body language and make sure I'm not boring them to death. But
you're good.
Go ahead
good,
and
bro.
do some,
You can check the comments section on the StreamYard. You'll be able to see that as well, right?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm checking.
Gotcha.
And there you are saying what up, fam. And so what's up? And then I see we've got Lady V is here. Our last guest, Sean. Everybody had a great time with Sean. He joined our Discord. We've had a lot of fun. But Sean's watching. True folks, what up, Stranger Fam? Matty Freeze is here, but he's upset because I plugged Dr. Pepper and he's a Dr. Thunder guy. Mike Patterson just dropping by to say hi. Hey, we appreciate it, bud. Let's see. Yeah, Matty's done said he's out. Bobby, what's going on, Bobby? Bobby Escobedo is here. Allison Greer.
Allison.
Oh, man, we got a lot of people. Leah Kim.
That's
What's
my
going
wife.
on,
She's
Leah?
probably watching in the other room.
There you go. Hey, it still counts. DeMar
Yeah.
Jukes. What's going on? And then our fearful leader, Helvetica. That was done on that was said on purpose. Fearful leader. But now that we've plugged Dr. Pepper and we've gotten the introductions and everything out of the way, I kind of want to hop into some of the questions. Let me get Helvetica here off this screen. Weapon X says he's just here for Sebastian. So me and Nathan appreciate that, Weapon X.
Yes, I do. I'm here for Sebastian too, actually.
Before we get started, if you could please hit that like button, it means a whole lot. We're doing a bunch of giveaways. All these books you see behind me tonight, we're going to be giving them away. If we can hit 25 likes, 50 likes, 75 likes, every 25 likes, we're going to give away a book. If we can get way up there, I'll give away a slab. I don't even care. For people who aren't familiar, a slab is a graded comic book. But yeah, 25 likes, we'll give away this copy of Beatboxing Tune #1, and it was signed by not Sebastian. It was signed by Nathan, and yeah, we'll give that to you free of charge. We'll just ship it right out to you.
It's my genuine chicken scratch.
Yeah, that's genuine chicken scratch. That's not. I've seen a lot worse signatures. So
yeah, my signature.
I practiced.
It's very nice.
I practiced before I sent those to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some Sebastian's signature. Which one is yours? Is it this one?
The shit one at the top. There you go.
Yeah. There's a Sebastian signature. Just a little flex.
Fucking just a little.
Just a little flex. Anyway.
Yeah, and Hyung's one is so impressive. We can't forge that one, you know.
Yeah. Well,
look
I had to
what is a
Hyung
signature?
Look at that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm sure I'll show this many times throughout the night, as well as all the other Stranger Comics art that we've got going. But I did want to hop into. Let me hop in. Let me get these questions pulled up. That way we don't. Dr. Pepper, if you don't get out of here. So, this first question, Nathan, I'm sorry. This first question is for Sebastian, but
That's okay.
No, I met you this past the last summer is when I was introduced to Stranger Comics. The Untamed, The Sinner's Prayer, it became a big favorite of mine, and it launched me into the world of Asunda, following the heroine Niobe. And the book was published in 2009. So looking back now, it's almost 15 years later. Is there anything in this Genesis story that you think that you would change and do differently? Or is it a perfect masterpiece in your eyes?
That's hilarious. No, yeah, I think there was, this is a great question. Thank you. I appreciate it. So when we started The Untamed, back then, I'd written the first kind of script in 2004, and I shopped The Untamed around at different comic book companies and publishers because I'd run a record label. I didn't want to do that shit again. To run a business was exhausting, so I just wanted to create. So a couple of things I would definitely do different. One is when we started Stranger Comics to kind of protect the integrity of Niobe and what she would embody and so on. But I think I was writing too many different. Oh shit! It's all me.
I made you big. That way we could stare at
Made
you.
me big, bro. So I think there was a couple of things that were taking place. One is I didn't necessarily factor in the budget as far as trying to do too much at the same time. So I was writing The Untamed. I was writing another comic called Erathune. I was writing another one called Dusu at the same time. I always knew Niobe would have her own solo spin-off titles, but I was trying to do too much financially and creatively at the same time. The other thing, and it took us in 2009, it was not until 2015 when we finished the book, all 7 issues. So it took a long time for the painter to finish the work. And I think the Stranger and Niobe, the way the Stranger is, one thing was very, very important to me, and clearly by the books that we do, I didn't necessarily want Niobe to be the only Black character in the town, because the town has a Moroccan kind of vibe. So I wanted it to be more of a melting pot, some Black, some brown, some white, etc. And because I'm like the anti-white savior kind of complex kind of motherfucker, so I just wanted to like, and I think the artist, a lot of times when you do Black characters, an artist do Black characters, especially white artists, there's a fear of like making them like, broad features and that kind of shit, and they're going like, I don't want to be offensive. It's like, Black folks have broad features. Don't you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you kind of go into the old school comic spectrum of Jean Grey and Storm look alike. Just Storm has a tan.
Right.
But they've got the same. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a big believer in honoring culture in the medium, and so I think I would lean into more of just making sure that the weight of the landscape, the gravitas of the landscape, was how I wanted to see it really represented. Even the Gallum Wren, when the night strangers coming across the desert, the first Gallum Wren you see, they're meant to be Black. We're in West Africa, right?
Right.
And at that particular point, and the artist painted them in put like war paint on. They look kind of very, very pale. So,
right.
And this is my first ever comic book. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But no, I think those are the kind of two things. A, don't spread yourself. I spread myself too thin. B, don't get involved with fucking shit publishers that are predators. And so
that's you weren't always going to self-publish.
No, bro. No, I wasn't.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And you said something just now that I accepted what it was, and I didn't really fully understand. Did you say like the entire book it's like it's painted, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's digitally painted, but it is in that kind of that super painted, rendered, painted style. And so I think, and Nathaniel will probably back me up on this, when you sometimes, like, when you work with an artist to start with, the first issue, they're like, yeah, fucking guns blazing. And then issue 2, you're like, yeah, I've got a couple of guns, a couple of them blaze. Issue 3, they're like, oh, I don't know. You know, not all of you out there, but some, it's a struggle to keep the consistency of the depth, especially if you start off going, I'm going to create a masterpiece. And,
Right.
and it's one thing, I'll shut up because I'll ramble, is one geezer, one friend of mine, he's a big letterer, he does lots of big famous comics and shit. He said, he's like, this will never be, I don't know why you sweat it so much. This will never be Watchmen. And I was like, well, why not? You know, and not to sound arrogant or whatever, but I'm like, my arrogant mind was like, yeah, it's going to be better, you know, like,
Right. Well, I can't.
I'm not even tripping on that. I just want to make what I'm making the best it can be, and I don't want to cut any corners. So.
No, I totally understand that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's, and I actually, I did the thing with Beatboxing too, and I sent it out to some publishers, didn't get anything back. And then when I was talking with the artist, Matt Gaudio, for the book, he and I kind of, we're just discussing the industry and this, and ultimately the first issue of Beatboxing 2 probably would not have been what it is if we hadn't had full creative control. I'm actually proud of it because when we finished it, it was like 24 pages and we added another 6 pages because we wanted to sell the moments at the end of the story because the reader had invested this time and we felt like it should pay off for them. So we did extra, which would not necessarily or definitely probably not be allowed with a major publisher because of budgeting, because of timetables. It backed up everything in the creative process to do that, but it was so worth it because it turned out well, in my opinion. So
yeah, I think I actually had a question kind of relating to that. We can kind of skip to it if we wanted to.
Can I just piggyback on that, Ty, where you find that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go.
Raise a great point. When we shopped it around the Untamed, there were a couple of publishers, big ones, that really wanted it. And to your note, Nathaniel, one of them was like, "Oh yeah, my whole pitch is 7 days for 7 souls, 7 issues. Each day is an issue." And there's one of the big publishers was like, or a few of them were like, "Nah, we want to do it in 4 issues." I'm like, well, that's missing the poetry of the arc of the story.
The symmetry.
And they're like, yes, 7 days, 4 issues, doesn't have the same ring, So, but what their note was they were saying, they're breaking down cost and versus profit margin, profit ratio from an issue 1 to an issue 2 to an issue 3. And essentially, if you order an issue in the comic shops, let's say there are, I don't know, 2,000. I'll just throw a random number. 2,000 comics ordered on issue 1. Most likely, Diamond and comic shops will order half of that for issue 2, and then half of that for issue 3. And so you've got these super diminishing returns, but you're still paying the same amount to the artist and for production and so on. So they wanted to like button it up over the 4 issues, so save them all that extra cost in all the capacities. And the same thing we also heard, as well as Nathaniel was saying, was keep the pages under a certain minimum. And so we, that plus many other kind of more ruthless kind of realities for us. There was a company that was very, very, one of the top companies, was a real dick and got very, very nasty. And we actually, that's the reason why Stranger Comics exists, because of, wanting to tell the stories in the way we wanted to tell them, but B, because there are some dickheads out there that run companies that, Yeah, put it this way: one time I had to be pulled out of a convention. So yeah, those are just. Thank you to you. If you're watching, you dickhead.
Well, but what you just said kind of spawns another question for me though, was why was the print run, because issue 1 and 2 is readily accessible. They're not cheap books, but they're accessible. They're fairly easy to afford and things like that. What drew the print run of issues 3 through 7 down so much and made them so expensive?
So Nathaniel, basically, we have we came out in 2009, and folks in the chat, with that first issue, we'd printed a certain number of issue 1s, LE issue 1s, and issue 2s. Again, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And based on what I can say from an NDA I signed, we literally, the dickhead I was talking about kind of tried to put a stop to us even existing.
Interesting.
And we had a lot of orders come in from comic shops, and we had a great quote from Clive Barker. We had all these amazing things happening for this first issue. There's a lot of hype on it. We had interest, and it ended up getting optioned by the guy that made the Watchmen movie and Hellboy movies and Boogie Nights and shit. And so it had a lot of movement. So when issue 2 came out, we were in a bit of fisticuffs legally for a little bit, that we couldn't do issue 3 through 7. And so I set up another bunch of deals to come out with just other stuff. And then I was like, okay, in 2015, let's just bypass that. Let's not deal with that kind of that drama, and let's just come out. And if they come after us, then we can go back after them in a really big way and try and wipe them out. All that to say is, we never dropped. We just went straight to the hardcover.
Right.
So then issues 1 and 2 never actually hit comic shops. So they were just literally dropped at San Diego Comic-Con, never to be seen again until years and years and years later. And then some fans were like, we want to collect issue 3 through 7. What the fuck? We actually want to get issues.
Right.
So we did a limited print run of issue 3 through 7. And we only printed up 100 copies of those. And that's it. That's all we've done of those 3 through 7.
Yeah. If anybody's watching, they're curious. I've tried finding they're very, very not cheap, but they're very exclusive, and I want them. And I don't think that I don't think the asking price is like absurd or anything. I just think that it's crazy how collectible they are because there's so few of them.
And the crazy thing is too, if you're a fan of Assessor, the first cameo of Assessor is in issue 7, and the first cameo of Scarlock is actually in issue 3. So if you're a collector of everything that we have, that's the only way you'll ever be able to get those. This has become, and I didn't know, to be honest, I didn't know anything about collector market when I started this. I had no clue.
Those first appearance issues, those origin issues, those things like that, that become collectors, that become collectibles. Yeah, I guess if you're just starting out and you're not a big long time avid collector, that would be something that probably eludes you and things like that. So I can understand that. The question that I was gonna ask later on, but that y'all kind of alluded to it, is I'm still on the outside looking in, though one day I hope to break into the world that y'all are in. Is there something you see like in the writing and producing of today that perhaps is bad for the industry as a whole? I mean, you've mentioned this dickhead guy, but like, is there something that is a common practice that you think is more so hurting the industry than it is helping the industry?
I think it's for me, what I've been seeing is like, it's the constant reinvestment in the same voices. I think like comics, you hear about comics as like the old boys club, where it's like you have these like established people, and they are established for a reason because they put out brilliant work. But in any creative medium, the safety of an industry lies in its diversity of ideas and people. So the more diverse a group of creators you have, the more diverse a group of people with like the things that you're producing. Like, you want to take ideas from all sorts of people. And the reason for that is because it keeps things fresh, it keeps people engaged, and it keeps people and the market on their toes, you know? So we're seeing this huge change of like comics to film. And so, which is not something that the TV and film industry has been like jumping on until more recently, because we've had these successes. And it's opening up like a whole world of, in my opinion, great entertainment that was not being made before. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Sebastian can probably talk about that really, really well, because I think your work is being adapted as we speak, right?
Thank you. We made a huge deal with HBO.
Y'all are just taking all my questions and like answering them all at once. So like, what am I going to do later on?
Have some more Dr. Pepper, bro.
Yeah. Crack another one. Yeah.
No, we did a big deal with HBO like maybe 3 years ago. But it took a long time to get there. We chances are we'll be ending up somewhere else. We have some news to be sharing, hopefully pretty soon. But I think in that regard, Nathaniel, like there's the twofold, right? Where you go, the movies and TV shows open up a floodgate of possibility, which is wonderful. And the other thing is it creates at times a bit of a veil over the reality of the hard work and attrition it is within the comic book making. And right. I think, there's like during pandemic, during this era, post Black Panther success especially in the Black indie market, just comics in general in the last few years, a lot of new creators get into the comic market, or comic industry, I should say, not to make a great comic, but because they think it's a lottery ticket that's going to pay their mortgage. And not necessarily, I think, and this isn't meant to, not to sound all like a dick or anything, but the art and the craft of making a comic to make a great comic and celebrate the medium of the comic, that's why I got in this. In addition to the hopes of, sure, it becomes a movie, that's great, but if it doesn't, I think I want to be able to, if nobody never makes a TV show, there are going to be some folks that be like, you didn't make it. I'm like, didn't make it.
It's right here.
What is it? It's right. Thank you. Yeah.
That's right here.
That's we want to celebrate and honor the craft and the medium. And then I think the other thing is back in the days, I feel like there are, especially with some of the bigger titles, there was a real, if it's something pulp, you can celebrate it being pulp, and it is what it is, and you celebrate it's not trying to be anything else, and you can get into it. But if you want to create layer and depth, then you want to create something with layer and depth. Sometimes it does feel like you were saying, Nathaniel, it's almost like a insert, reformula, checkbox. And I think that plays to the current market, which is distracted with TikTok and an app and Farmville and the TV show and this and that. Farmville, you like that? That's a nice what I'm saying is like, people are that's how fucking old I am. So
like vampires too on Facebook. Jesus.
Yeah, see, you're distracted. Like you need to like grab, like, okay, so here's a note that we got when we were in the studio was the slow burn doesn't grab attention quick enough.
Well, the attention span is definitely lacking these days. That's 100% accurate.
And so some of the older, like I'm an old school head, so I like I like the slow burn and peeling back the layers to go, oh, and this and this and this.
To hit that big revelation later on. Yeah, no, I'm 100%.
You know what? That's actually why I moved over to comics. So I had a background in playwriting and filmmaking, but I realized that in this industry right now, the state of things, nobody wants to read a play or a screenplay, you know, and the concept of that is difficult for someone because it requires you understanding something about how a screenplay is written, and it requires a lot of patience because it is not a visual format the way it is when it is actually produced. You know, the best way to watch a play is to watch a play. The best way to watch a movie is watch a movie, you know. But when I realized that, because Beatbox and Tune was originally written as a screenplay, and when I started to realize that no one was going to read it as a screenplay, I was like, okay, well, I have to look for other avenues of getting this project into people's hands. And when I started exploring the idea of adapting it to a comic book, that's when I started to realize that, you know, we're still pretty small, but I have direct relationship with the audience, you know, and that is the most powerful thing for anyone creating, you know, on their own is now that I have it in print, I can hand it to someone and they can read it and enjoy it in its own unique medium, you know, and for me, that's been like the best thing ever, you know, because all creative people, it's like my philosophy on writing is very simple. Like you write it first for yourself, and that's the first time you fall in love with something that you're making. And then the second time you fall in love with it is when someone reads it and appreciates it and shares that with you or someone else.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
That's like my whole thing.
No, I think that's a great stance to have on it, because I mean, it's one thing for you to like your own work. It's something else entirely for somebody else to like your work. And having that affirmation can go a long way, especially in motivating you to continue your work. So I'm completely on board with that stance. For people who aren't, a lot of our viewers are going to be familiar with Sebastian. He's been on the MadHouse a few times, but Nathan, you're new. So quick two-parter. One, could you give a quick synopsis of your book, Beatbox and Tune? After Nathan answers this two-part question, we're actually going to do a giveaway because we're actually already up to 32 likes. But I want to get a synopsis, and then I want to ask you something about the comic that I have prepared.
Have I frozen?
No, we got you, bud.
No, I've got you slightly more pixelated.
Can you hear
you're still
us?
moving around, and I can hear you.
Uh-oh. I don't know if Sebastian can hear us.
Oh.
So crazy. You guys are very...
Come on, Sebastian, get it together.
You seem a little pixelated. I would say the same for you, actually. I'm sensing some pixelation. Your whole face has become one like giant square.
On me or Sebastian?
On Sebastian.
Okay. No, yeah, I've got Sebastian being a little pixelated as well.
Am I back? I feel like I'm back.
You never left us, bud. We had you the whole time. We were holding you. we could hear you the entire time in the back. Did you lose me? Well, and you were moving. But no, Nathan, if you could give just a little synopsis of what Beatbox and Tune is, and then we're gonna dive into it a little bit. Then we're gonna do a giveaway, and then we'll carry on with some more Q&As as we go.
Sure. So Beatbox and Tune it started from like a sort of complex idea of what a superpower can be. It's, you know, the concept is like a superhero duo. We don't have a lot of superhero duos in the world. And the ones that we have are not very modern or extremely reliant upon each other.
Okay.
So the whole concept of beatbox and tune is like beatbox is his superpower is that is determined by the type of music that's being played. So when one piece of music is being played or a genre, he has one power. And when you switch the music, it's a entirely different power set. And so tune changes the music and he fights. And so it's this sort of free flowing, dynamic relationship between the two of them. But that's not what the story is really about. That was just the concept of the powers. What the story is actually about is just these three young men who are just dealing with like the trauma in life that they've encountered and how that trauma and their pasts change them as they go into adulthood, as they acquire powers, you know, and what those things do to them and how their history influences their future decisions. You know, it's a kind of complex thing to describe more so than that. Like if I had to, like, I can't like give it a log line, you know?
Right.
And I find that like nowadays everyone wants just a quick log line for what something is. And I try not to simplify things down to that. Firstly, because I'm publishing it myself and I don't necessarily have to. And the second reason is because any great story has a lot of depth to it. You know, there are a lot of themes that are going on within the story that I'm passionate about. But one of the things that it really focuses on is men's mental health, you know,
Right.
and because, you know, in my line of work, you know, I see a lot of trauma, and when people encounter that trauma, it changes them over time. And not always in like in the moment, it seems like it's small, but it's not, because like a single instance of extreme trauma can change someone forever, you know, if they don't find a way. Yeah. If they don't find a way to deal with that emotion. And so the whole idea of Beatbox and Tune is about like brotherhood and trying to overcome and navigate your way and help each other find the path through that to be productive people.
So one, I think that a look at it through the lens of mental health, and especially men's mental health, like Bobby just mentioned, I think that that's something that's very new and very progressive with comic books, especially given that majority of comic readers are male. I'm not disregarding our female readers at all, because I mean they are many, but comics has always been predominantly male, and so something that's touching on men's mental health, that's something that's new and like, as I said, progressive, and I think that's a fantastic way to look at things and tell a story through that. But something a little more lighthearted, less heavy, so to speak, was, I mean, I had the annals of comic history. They're extensive, and characters that use sound or are affected by sound, they're somewhat common. I mean, you got Black Bolt, Songbird, Banshee,
yeah,
even Echo and Daredevil. They're affected by sound and the different senses. But Beatbox is the first one that I've seen that derives his powers from the various sounds of music that he hears. So what process led you to that creation of Beatbox and Tune and the powers that they have?
Well, when I was a kid, I always loved superheroes. I didn't have like a lot of access. I grew up in like central Montana. We didn't have a lot of access to comic books, you know. It was way out in the boonies. But we had other things. We had movies, we had music, you know, we had things like that. And when I got into college, I was always thinking about like, you know, what kind of idea can I have that will contribute to forward a medium? You know, like you can't just, like, there's 1,000 new superhero comics a day, you know, everyone's coming up with something else, naming it after an animal or, something like that. And that's fine, but I didn't want to enter into a medium without trying to contribute something that hadn't been done. And playing with sound in this medium is tricky by nature of the fact that we don't have a soundtrack for a comic book,
Right.
So how do we, the idea behind it is, how do you take sound and make it alive on a page and make it a part of a story and make it a part of the character, And so I kind of came up with like this kooky idea that I was bothering my good friend with when we were walking back and forth between classes. And I was like, well, what if we had a superhero that, had like powers, but instead of like him just having powers, some outside force determined what his powers were and how they acted. There's a level of risk. There's a level of chaotic, there's like chaos to that, And I think that was very interesting, an interesting approach to something, because if you have a character that's going through so much and then they have no control over their powers either, like that is very interesting for a story. They're constantly battling for control of themselves and of their abilities. And when they lose control of that, what does that do? Does it have devastating effects? Does it, what does that do to them mentally when they hurt people they don't intend to hurt? Or, and in the first issue, there is a scene, spoiler, where, the concept of just noise, like noise for the sake of noise, causes chaos in his power, and it essentially creates an indiscriminate wave of violence. It just creates destruction the way, when you're walking down a street in New York City and all of this sound is attacking you from all angles, like, that is the essence of chaos in sound. So if that kind of sound happens to him, or he exposes himself to that, what does it create? And it's the same thing with every type of music in this story. How can we use genre of music to influence his mental state and the flow of a piece of action?
Right. So I'm thumbing through these panels these panels that y'all are seeing, folks. These are from the first issue. So are these things that he's hitting on the back of his hands? Are these affecting various sounds of music that he hears?
So we knew that originally the idea was to use like brass knuckles, because we wanted to kind of make him more of like a brawler, because he's a guy that takes a lot of crap.
He definitely looks like it, especially, I mean, he's here getting hit with all these bullets. So
yeah, and so like rock music gives him invincibility and strength,
Right.
But you can only do that for so long. What is the average rock song? 3 to 4 minutes. So you've got 3 to 4 minutes of that strength, and then it's gone. You got to move on to something else, So
so it's interesting you say this, because in hold on. I don't want to step on your toes or anything here, but I got a well, I say that now I can't find my trade paperback of The Untamed, but The Untamed has a soundtrack, and Sebastian's book, that there's actual like musical notes.
On the first few pages.
Yeah,
I read the first issue, by the way, Sebastian, because I wanted to know something more about the process of how you think and the type of work that you're putting out there. So I prepared. I did my homework.
Oh, great! Thanks.
Good.
But I did see the notes in the first few pages before we really get into the story after the prologue, and I found that interesting. I wanted to go over and plink it out on like a piano or something, but I don't have a piano, so I just had to kind of use my imagination. But I loved the idea of that, and so like it's the same thing with like beatbox and tune. We're always trying to like find interesting ways of combining different forms of media, of artistic mediums, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's very much in the same kind of vein. It's funny, I used to run a record label for about 10 years or so. And I always believe that music is my first love, I would say. And it kind of, I believe it's the frequency of spirit, you know, and it, you know, bypasses everything. It's transcendent, and it really evokes honest, natural emotion, or it deadens you and it creates apathy or entitlement. And that's, you know, you can kind of look at the different complexions of music today versus before, and why is there an industry controlling in music as an industry? How is it marketed, packaged? You can look at the whole spectrum from, you know, Delta blues, New Orleans jazz, classical chants, African chants. The ceremony of culture in Africa is very different to the concept of music here. That's a ceremonial thing versus I'm going to do this for this, you know. So you can kind of just, I think when I heard your idea, I was like, oh, that's fucking great, because you can really, you know, play on such the purity of an emotion. So yeah,
well, I loved this pairing of bringing you two together, because Nathan's got his character that is so heavily influenced by music. But then I watch your stream, Sebastian, and you're always playing the vintage hip hop and the various artists from the 80s and the 90s and things like that.
Like this? What?
Yeah, plug. But I think I got one back here. Which one was this one?
That's that's the younger version of this one. Look, that's the Outcast homage.
Yeah, there you go. But so the both of you both have musical influences that have played a factor throughout your lives, and I'm sure in your writing and things like that. And well, I mean, I've always said that Sebastian is, as far as his writing goes, he's a modern poet, and so I love that about his writing and everything like that. Before we keep diving, we're gonna do a giveaway, okay? Because we hit 25 likes super fast, so we're gonna give this away. All you have to do is in the comment section type #beatbox, and then you're automatically entered. It's gonna spin a wheel, and then whoever it lands on, they get the book. All they gotta do is contact me, and I'll ship it to them. See, right there. That's cool. All you gotta do is #beatbox, and it's signed by Nathan. If you want, I'll sign it too. I had nothing to do with the book.
We should all sign it, you know.
But no, we're gonna give that away. So yeah, hit the #beatbox, everyone, and we're about to spin that wheel. I'll give you, I don't know, what do you think, 60, 90 seconds. Let everybody put their hashtags in there as we keep moving along. I mean, we've had a steady 20 to 30 watchers this whole time, so it's been fantastic. Especially for me in my second episode. So I'm kind of happy about that. Also, I can plug Dr. Pepper again while we sit here. And
I had like a mini brain fart, and I actually didn't talk about this. So this kind of goes back to like the old days, like on Beatbox's hand of like, you know, back in the day when everyone had iPods and that was the cool thing to have. It's that same sort of like motion,
right?
Of like changing the music.
That's what I was mentioning earlier. Are these what changes his music right now? Because at this current juncture, tune really isn't a contributing factor, correct?
Right. So what in the storyline, the idea behind this is that we are jumping ahead to after Beatbox and Tune have separated. There's a separation between the two of them, and they're fraternal twin brothers, but they've had a rocky relationship since a very young age. But we originally were going to do like brass knuckles and buttons, but that was kind of like boring. And so the artist, Matt, he actually came up with the idea to use hand symbols to represent the stopping of music. And so there is a visual language associated with the sound that as the readers read more issues, when the character does something with their hands, we no longer have to tell them what's happening because they'll learn the language with the character.
Right.
You know?
No, yeah, no,
So,
I think that's perfect.
Yeah, it's just layering stuff in.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna spin. We're gonna see who wins this. Hey, Sarah Foster, you got in just in time. So we're gonna see who wins this. And it is gonna be hey, Clint Bartlett. Congratulations.
Hey.
He's actually a good friend of mine. You get the first issue of Beatboxing Tunes signed by Nathan. If we can keep those likes going, hey, 50 likes. We're gonna give away Niobe, She Is Life, issue 1.
What?
50 likes. We're gonna give it away. Because I'm tired of looking at it. I'm ready to get rid of it. No, I'm playing.
Whoa.
No. It's a fantastic book. It's not I don't know as far as like print runs or anything goes, but I think Sebastian can probably tell you a lot more about this cover if you want.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to. So Niobe, She Is Life. For folks that don't know, I co-wrote that with an actress called Amanda Stenberg, and she played Rue in the Hunger Games. And hang on a second, I see this wonderful auto-generated link from my man Nathaniel here. I don't have any auto-generated link in the chat of YouTube. I keep seeing this shit, and I'm like, "Where's my automatic shit?"
We gotta get this fixed.
I got a pre-order going on right now for Tales of Asunder issue 1.
I'll talk to my people. I'll see what I can
do. Who is Helvetica? We're Raiders fans. What the fuck?
It's not me.
First of all, who's running this? And get them over here.
You're killing me, Helvetica.
Look at this. It's fucking great. Anyway, so go to strangercomics.com. I'm just going to keep saying that every 5 minutes.
I knew something like that was going to come up.
It's actually a very important time for us, funny enough, because it is right now we're back in Diamond, and it's the most important time for an indie publisher.
I believe it or not, I was definitely going to segue into that.
I love that. But okay, back to Niobe. Look at MadHouse coming through.
There we go.
So Niobe, She Is Life is wrote that with Amanda Stenberg. She played Rue in the Hunger Games. She is the star of the new Star Wars franchise, the Acolyte. She is the Acolyte. But when we didn't realize at the time it became the first nationally distributed comic book with a Black female author, artist, and hero in entertainment. And the cover is actually done by Hyung, who's an old friend of mine when he was still in college. Hyung is the lead concept artist for the video game and TV show The Last of Us. And yeah, kind of bonkers, right? So we met him when he was still at college, and he did that one. He did the first Untamed cover.
So yeah, Hyung Tak Nam.
Hyung he's the man. So basically that was the 1-in-10 ratio store variant exclusive 2015. When we dropped that in 2015, that was a 1-in-10 store ratio variant. So I don't actually remember off the top of my head what the print run is, but I'd say it's not very many, you know. But so yeah, jump on that, hit those like buttons. But one thing
18 likes away from giving it away.
Holy shit, 18 likes.
18 likes. Surely, like we can
share this shit, people. Get a chance to win a piece of history.
We can get some more giveaways going. Like that's how we have fun.
I'll take my hoodie off, you know, the whole night. We'll just get crazy up here, you know, I'll scare everybody. But I was gonna say was to what Nathaniel was saying earlier, the music, like again, when it came to what we were doing, sound played a huge part. So the Untamed was very inspired by Kurosawa's Yojimbo and obviously Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars and all the spaghetti westerns. So the sound was I wanted to really create something that was, you could smell it on the paper. That sounds wrong. It had a visceral feeling, you know, everything felt visceral and earthy and grounded and all that kind of shit, you know. So that stuff was really kind of was everything for me. So yeah, I love what Nathaniel was saying, because music is so impactful to what we do, that when I'm writing, I'm always listening to a certain sound that inspires the spirit to get into whatever that thing is. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Something I wanted to ask both of you, and I wanted to start with Sebastian, and then because I wanted to get the take from 2009 to 2015 until to compare to today's, because both of you are people who took something that's your own and you created this medium, and you put it in this medium of comic books that we all love.
Right.
And so I wanted to know what the process was like in finding the artist who believed in your vision, finding the right way to go about publishing it, and all the way down to marketing and debuting the book. Because we've touched on those things like slightly here and there. We haven't touched on them all together. And so I wanted to put it all together, and because there's a lot of people in this community who write, who do art, who would love to break into this world of comics that y'all dwell in. And then after that, Nathan, I'll ask the second part of this question, but Sebastian, I definitely wanted to start that with you.
Okay, and then thank you, Ty. And then the quick question for you: Do you want to talk a little about the Untamed and let people know, or you're saving that for a little later?
No. By all means, talk about the Untamed, because that's what started everything.
Right.
And so, I wanted to because you said you were working on 3 things at once, but the Untamed is what started it all.
It really was, and so
finding that person who believed in your vision the way that you believed in your vision.
Right.
And then, I guess even from finding the vision to do that in the first place, and then the right way to go about publishing it, and then the way that you marketed it to build it to what you have today. Because, you have your own online conventions now with StrangerCon on YouTube. Plug. We'll get to that later. But yeah, that's something that isn't easy to do. And it's a step-by-step process, I'm sure. And it's bound to be much different then than it is now, because that's going to be the difference in the questions between you and Nathan. I want to hear how it was for you, and then I want to hear the contrasting differences between how it was for Nathan.
Yeah, for sure. And so for folks that don't know in the chat, I'll just give you an introduction. And this is essentially why we did the Untamed. And I'll give you the pitch and what the Untamed is. So the Untamed was really it's a very small town in a very big world. And what I didn't want to do was do the traditional fantasy where you're off to save the princess, you're going from point A to point B across a big world. I wanted to kind of localize it into a really, really small, intimate setting. I'd written this monstrous script, 300 pages. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. A producer was like, you know what the fuck you're doing. This is totally unproducible. And I was like, all right. And it just came to me in a bit of a vision. Funnily enough, I was rocking my newborn to sleep, and I was overtired. I was going through separation. It was a very, very difficult time in my life, and I was seeing demon patterns dancing on the wall. And I wrote, day 1, I'm a bad man. Day 2, and I started writing this poem, and I built the story around the poem, and then the structure of the story around that. And I wanted to essentially introduce a huge world in the most grounded human story I could tell. So this was the pitch that I give at a convention. I did this in 2009. I did this to HBO, and I still do this today. So this is the pitch. And the pitch is, I always ask the question, would you damn your family to save the world? This is a story of a man who's stuck in purgatory. And after 10 years, the devil comes along and he says, I'll give you 7 days to reap the 7 souls that murdered you and your family. He says, sign me up. He takes a drifter's return to a one-horse town in a huge world. As his memory comes back in broken shards, he realizes when he was alive, he was a bad man, and maybe he deserved to die, but now he's on a path to save his family. On his path of vengeance to save their souls, he meets a little elven girl called Niobe. And she reminds him of how old his murdered daughter would have been. Giving this man a second chance to be a good man, a father. He only has 7 days. The kicker? What if she's one of the 7 souls he has to collect? And the devil set the whole thing up just to find her. Would you damn your family to save the world, or would you damn the world to save your family? Because if Niobe can stay alive in the Untamed, a sinner's prayer, maybe she'll grow up to become our world's, the face of our franchise, our Messiah, our Luke Skywalker. So that was very much the introduction into the world of Asunder. And I saw a few people in the chat that, want to get the first trade paperback and shit. You can get the sample readers right there. You can get the whole set right there. Look at that. A whole bunch of things.
I knew you weren't going to be able to go without plugging it. I knew
oh my God, look at all that shit right there. Look at that. What? Whole bunch of shit like that. So we do have sample readers on strangercomics.com. You get issue 1 for free to download, sample platter. But to that note, and on the music side, yeah, we do lean into the culture. We do very much thoroughly enjoy dropping all sorts of variant editions and all sorts of fun stuff. Erykah Badu, and we have Sailor Moon homages. But I got into that later. All that to the side, to me, it's all about the story. And that story could have been in a space opera. It could have been a desolate wasteland. It could have been a post-apocalyptic future. It just happens to be in the backdrop of a fantasy world I spent 30 years creating. So my goal was, you're on board with this dude because you, as people, especially as we get older, we all want a second chance. We all think we could have been a better husband, a better father, a better son, a better lover. I'm doing all right. No, a better man. That's too easy, low-hanging fruit. We all just want to be a better man, essentially, or a better woman. And what would we do with that second chance? And what are we prepared to do for our family? And how do those intersect? And when he meets this young girl, Niobe, the one you were showing up, this one, she kind of offers the opportunity for him to be a better man and a better person, giving him the opportunity for redemption. And what is he willing to do for that redemption to find salvation? And then what is he willing to teach her in order to be not hunted down by the devil? And all these wonderful intersections they split. As he teaches her how to kill, she gives him his humanity. And as she learns how to kill, is that what the devil wanted all along? So you have all these wonderful things. And True Folks was saying that the hardcovers are the best way to go. You can also get the hardcover set. Look at that.
You'll never be a better salesman, Nathan.
So I'm sold. Where are you?
Strangercomics.com, Nathaniel. We can happy to do a trade, But I would. But so coming to your question, this is super important to me. Is I saw some idiot online at one point saying that I got into this business to kind of get into the comic collecting market, and I was like, I want to honor the comic collectors by creating comics that I believe in the characters that they can find themselves within. And I want to honor the comic speculator market by working with great people like David Mack, who are wonderful painters, and honor that medium and do everything right so everybody wins, speculator, collector, and reader. So 2009, to your question.
Okay.
I did a convention at San Diego Comic-Con, my first ever convention, and we shared a booth with 10 publishers, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but I'd run a record label, so I'd been to conventions and things. Clearly, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Shout out to them. I love you, but it was just a bit fucking crazy. And so we created, if you want the honest truth, we created a bit of a sting operation where I knew this producer was coming into San Diego Comic-Con and he was going to be flirting around the booth a little bit. So suddenly I created a a bunch of giveaways, and I created this illusion that there's a lot of shit happening in the booth to come to get my book signed. So suddenly this producer turned up, and there were lines wrapped around everyone else's booth coming to meet me to get this Untamed issue 1 that no one ever fucking heard of before. But it was like, oh my God, that's a thing. So he was like, oh shit, I better option this. 2009, since then, it has been a non-stop grind. We go to conventions. We've been going to conventions. I've done shit where it's like, I'll go a freaking town hall barn playing D&D, and I got one comic book, and do I sell any that day? No, I give an art print to a lady that has cancer that's still hanging on her wall, and she thinks Naivi's cured her. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you do fucking everything you can. And I don't have the pride to think anything's too good for me. I don't think any of that shit is just real. I think it's just honoring the love of the craft of what we have, and believing that when someone comes, I'm not good with social media. I suck at it because algorithm is crap. All that, I'm 49. All that shit is way too difficult for me to figure out.
Damn, Farmville.
Farmville. Thank you, bro. You like that quote? Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm not going to get over Farmville.
On the showroom floor, that's my algorithm. I don't have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, some other motherfucker could be on another booth, and I understand, and I'm not knocking people that have social anxiety. I understand that's real as shit for a lot of people. But for me, I don't have any. But it's still the anxiety of, are you going to do well at a convention? And so for some folks that don't necessarily realize is there were years where if we didn't hit a certain number at every convention, we'd be out of business. Mm-hmm. And so,
that's scary.
Dude, the pressure of that is giant. And this was my day job. You know, I used to do some modeling and acting when I was young and pretty, but then it just became like the fucking that, and my record, this is it. And I got a lot of people that essentially that's how they put food on the table as well. Yeah. So it's suddenly all this pressure is lying squarely, you know, on my shoulders, and we're going from convention to convention. So to folks that come up in the comic industry, if you don't realize that the algorithm is going to crush you, so you have to essentially put yourself out there. You go to conventions and you be as proactive as possible. That's how we that's how we did it in 2009. That's how I still do it today. You put the same that pitch that I gave you earlier on the Untamed, the same pitch I gave to HBO, same pitch I do at a convention, whether I had one comic book or a whole stack of goodies, you know.
Right. So hearing all that, Nathan, like, what's different about the way that he had to come up with creating his world and pitching it and you know, publishing it himself and everything like that? What's different compared to now?
I don't think it's any different than it is than it is now. The algorithm's still crap. In fact, if you're getting started like me now, the algorithm is even worse. So like getting out there and trying to connect with people and just get books in people's hands is, in my opinion, the only successful, like truly tried and proven method to growing an audience of people who care about what you're doing, you know? So I haven't even done a convention yet. My first show is actually going to be the LA Times Festival of Books this weekend.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. That's awesome.
Oh, you're going to be there too?
Yeah, I am.
So funny thing,
look what
the first time I ever heard of your work, Sebastian, was when I was at USC as a student, and I was walking around the Festival of Books, and I think you probably gave me one of your famous pitches because you gave you or one of your team members handed me like a free copy of Dusu, and I brought it back to my dorm and I was reading it. So look, I think that stuff works, you know?
It does.
And so that's why I'm saying it's like, I don't think it's any different. I think social media is something that is is going to come and it's going to go, and it's always going to be at the whims and fancies of people who are trying to make money off ad revenue. But if you really want to connect with people, you just have to get out there and you just got to talk to people and show up, like go to comic book shops. That's next on my to-do list. Just sit in comic book shops, anyone that'll take me, and just talk about what I'm doing.
That's
and
awesome.
Then the other side of it is don't stop making stuff, because issue 1 took a long time to get completed. And now I've learned from everything, all of like the things that were slowing us down with issue 1, and we've streamlined that for issue 2. And so I would like to be putting out a comic, every 2 to 3 months, which is a lot of work, and people don't realize how much work that is. But you just have to keep making it, and at a certain point, you'll have a body of work. I want to be like Sebastian, where I'm just holding up like 10 books and I'm like, I got the hardcovers here and the soft covers here, and strangercomics.com. Like that's the direction I want to go. And so that's why I'm starting with the Festival of Books, is because that's where I first heard Stan Lee talk on the stage, and that's where I had an interaction with Stranger Comics and was handed a copy of Dusu. And so it's that kind of thing you don't forget, even after all these years. I didn't know who Sebastian was when I was handed that comic book. But as soon as I found out about this, the connection was made, and I remembered that story. And it made me want to go back and be like, okay, like I know I've read the first one. I probably have it in my house right now, all these years later, because I don't throw out comic books. Why would you ever throw out like a perfectly good book? So that you just remember that stuff, and you make connections with people.
Well, that's a great. I mean, it's amazing that that we had that connection, and we're going to be there back at LA Festival of Books. Funny enough, this year, usually we have a much bigger booth. This year, I was like, just a little booth is cool. But it's, even if you have a table, that's how we started. We literally shared one booth with 10 publishers. Then we did Long Beach Comic Con, and we shared half a table with someone. And we had, it literally went from the one issue to what we have now, which is a pretty, nice bunch of hardcovers and soft covers and LEs and all the things. But one thing that you said, which was really, really critical for me, was, and Ty see me at New York Comic Con, is the connections that we make, and you really see it viscerally and honestly, that some people will really be. I get a message here and there every so often saying, I saw your panel, and because I went back to college. I read your book, or I have young Black girls or grandparents going like with tears. You have all these moments that are very humbling, because for folks in the chat that might not realize this, but when we work a comic book, I work 7 days a week. There's no day off really, and I'm a dad, and you kind of find the moral kind of balance to say, well, should I have done this because I'm spending so much time because the profit margins are small? This is difficult. This is a difficult business.
Yeah.
Or would I be better off in another industry, spending more time with my son, and being, and so you have this dilemma, because I look at it like this: if you're going to be in the comic business and you have an idea, you can't do it half-assed. You can't put one foot in. You've got to. That idea is your baby, and you've got to nurture it like a child, and they deserve your time and attention. Otherwise, don't fucking do it. Because otherwise you're taking away from people that want to spend time with you in a loved environment. And the other thing too, I believe, when someone risks their $4 on your comic, or
that's huge,
more on a variant, it is everything. Right, exactly. Because they might be like, I've only got $4, either this or Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to take a risk on you then, weird English guy with a big hair. So,
So Okay. So I've got 3 more prepared questions. They always spawn more questions in and of themselves. Then we got
StrangerComics.com. That's the question is where you can get this shit is StrangerComics.com.
So, but then we're gonna get to other. Also, for everyone watching, we're 7 likes away from 50 likes. 50 likes.
Get that piece of history, people. What the fuck? Look at that.
50 likes. 50 likes. We're just gonna give it away.
First ever in history. That is the Acolyte start.
Now we're at 6. 6 more likes.
Six likes, Dougie Fresh. 6 likes. Jump on that shit.
Well, okay. So I'll take I'll take this next question to Sebastian, since you brought up that it is a piece of history.
Yeah.
You've mentioned it before, and I tried to find a good example online, but I couldn't find a good map. And Helvetica couldn't either. But could you expand on the different African tribes and influences and regions that influence the ones in your story? Because like from the tribes of Niobe and the Galamarin and the ones depicted in Earthun, like the map is vast. Like you said, it's Oasis is a 1-horse town in a big world, but all these tribes
in this book right here, The Untamed. Also, this image is done by the Lost. Let's look at that shit right there.
There's a map in there.
It's cool.
There's me on the boat coming out of Comic-Con. So here's the map, the OG map that we did, and the goal was essentially to create a world as big as Earth, and I want that way when I die, other people can kind of continue to work on more stories throughout the world, and it also kind of gave me an idea that I could explore the world with her, and also being a big D&D head, we obviously have the Navi Pathfinder role-playing games. If you guys are D&D role-playing games, just other glimpses of the comic, just so you can get a sense of that spaghetti western vibe. But to your notes, as far as the different kind of tribes, we work with Daryl May, who's an anthropology major, and here is your Dusu, the Dusu-looking one. The goal was essentially draw inspiration for the different regions from an anthropological standpoint.
I've got some examples here of different art throughout the series in different.
Thank you. No, for sure.
And it can show different aspects of the way they look. I couldn't get this full image all on.
That's fine. You're fine.
But you can see, you can see some influences in this image.
Yeah, she's meant to be actually Mayan inspired. That's Araxi. Yeah, so we have different regions of the different parts of the world. That is Araxi, and that's the god of nature, Pausian. But yeah, if you get here's a more imagery from Nabish's death. So the idea was really to create different regions in the world that really kind of felt that it had as much weight as the characters did. The characters, the backdrops are as much of this as cultured and realized as the characters themselves, almost to say that when you enter that world, it's kind of like in Star Wars where you first start off and you're on the Death Star, whatever it is, not the Death Star, sorry, one of those ships, and you've got Darth Vader and everything's going fucking crazy. You're just in. You don't question the world. Nothing seems out of place because everything has texture and it's rooted in its mythos. So now you just can sit back and kind of get into the characters and the dynamic relationships between each of the characters. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We actually have bundle discount sets too. If anybody's interested, you want to claim the bundle discount sets off me tonight, I can do a bundle set discount for you, not to be all salesy, but if you do want it, you guys are on the show, I will do all 6 trade paperbacks for $80. They should be 125. I'll sign them all for you. If you want to get all 6 trade paperbacks, I'll do the entire bundle for $80. So
yeah, I paid 125. So yeah.
Do you do like a rebate for him?
thank you, Ty. I appreciate that. No, it's very kind of you.
But no, I very much enjoyed. I enjoy seeing the different influences, and as I mentioned, it's not just influences from the African tribes. Like as Sebastian mentioned, someone was influenced from Mayan, and I think there's in Urathun, isn't that
Everything is more Scandinavian,
Baltic, things like that in that area.
And what we do is, now I'll see if I can find the page for you, like in the Dusu cover, we do do a lot of kind of digging into, building the towns out. We get very, very kind of detail orientated on how these people look. And
that's the stuff that I love.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, those build outs are awesome. That's fantastic. This
is our lead villain in the Dusu book right there.
That's awesome.
There's the symbol of the god of war right there. There's all sorts of symbolism that we like to play with throughout. How is Dusu's face going to look? What are his hairstyles? How many different versions of his items of clothing do we have before we get to the final look for Dusu? These are really, extremely rich and detailed worlds that we want to create. So a lot of love and spirit of intention goes into all these various different characters and so on. So when you meet them, there's gravitas, and you feel like you know them already.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, since we talked about the creation of those characters and things like that, Nathan, I had a question for you about some of your characters. Well, mainly about one of your characters. So this is going to be a quasi spoiler thing for everyone listening. But when I read your first issue, I was enthralled from the beginning because of this, the dark past of the character that we're introduced to in the beginning. And I was astounded that this person, I was like, how has this person become a hero? How is this person going to become Beatbox? And then I got that twist, learning that it wasn't the hero, it's the villain. So what led you to begin your story with the antagonist rather than the hero of the story?
I think it's because of empathy, empathy of the human condition. Throughout the beginning of the story, the Harry Hughes, who is the main character in his Beatbox, he becomes, or may at some point, know Max intimately, as a person. And so knowing, reflecting upon the trauma that he's been through informs him in a lot of ways. When you're fighting someone or fighting for something, the opposition is fighting for something they're just as passionate about, So I think the best villains are people that we humanize, that we can relate to, that contribute more than just antagonistic behavior to a hero character. They have to have more to them in order for something to be meaningful to any degree. If you really look at the best heroes across all media, it's the ones who you actually kind of agree with, not fully agree with everything that they do or the way in which they do it, but there are human parts of them, and you understand why they are the way they are,
right,
because you've shared in the experience that maybe just they had, but you as the reader, you get a look into that. So I wanted to open with Max because of that, and because yes, it kind of creates a nice little twist, but it also informs the main character's every move throughout the entire story and in future issues. Is a lot of what he does is in response to Max. And Max is because Max is a very a troubled person, but he's also a very strong person because of the things that he's been through. He becomes that way. And I think especially in issue 2, we get a really good idea of how he has changed. And he also makes a great counterpart to the hero because his ability is he eliminates sound and he can manipulate spaces like you can see right here.
That's why
Where
I had these two frames because they're my two favorite panels in the whole, or two favorite pages in the whole issue. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, and it took like when I was trying to think of like how do you portray like soundlessness on a page, and so we literally just took it and you just suck all the color off of it because in comics color is sound, you know.
That's brilliant.
So that's the thought there. But the idea is that he'll be able to manipulate these shapes and create these really interesting patterns and designs visually for a reader, but also how is he going to use this power? And obviously that provides him a innate advantage over our hero.
Right.
You know?
I remember flipping through it, and when I got to this panel right here specifically, let me get rid of this banner that's scrolling. It's going to bother the hell out of me. When I got to this panel specifically, you could actually feel the pain and everything that the character was going through. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But it was it also spoke volumes because you can see all the sounds surrounding him and how it's almost parallel and symmetrical to our hero. And that's something that it works for him, but it's drowning to him. And it was almost like poetry. And so I was very, very enthralled with that story from the very beginning. And I look forward to the rest of them, but I thought that was fantastic.
That's amazing.
I like to think that I write, like everything that I write, I try and write from a place of emotion. And that's something that I liked about your writing is that when I was reading it, there is a poetry between the panels, between the pages. I like that as well, whether it be in dialogue or in narration. I think it's important to create that flow. And so in that first scene, it is a rising action to a crescendo of sound, and sound and color are introduced into this scene in waves that ultimately it becomes too much and it suffocates him to the point where he releases this ability from himself that creates the relief that he was seeking, you know, emotionally and physically and everything.
Who is your artist? Because they're phenomenal.
So yeah, I lucked out. So his name is Matt Gaudio. He was
Matt Gaudio, write it down real quick.
Yeah, Matt Gaudio.
That guy.
he went to the Kubert School actually, and he's done work like Betty Page, and I think he did like a John Wick comic for a little while.
Oh, wow.
But he has like such an innate ability to do like beautiful like storytelling panels, like how the emotion flows between like basically he took what I wrote and then he upped the ante essentially, and that is like a truly great creative partnership when you give them the freedom to bring their own experiences to the work and not stifle that, you know. That I think that's so important because everything I did before I got into comics was a creative collaborative medium. So going into comics, I wanted to carry that mindset of like theater into that.
That's cool.
And
so
yeah,
you said something and it sparked something. You're speaking my love language. So Joe Kubert's my favorite artist ever. I think he's my guy. And when we talk about the legends, I don't think he's mentioned nearly often enough. But this is Manticore because you mentioned the Kubert Art School. This was the first book that they ever published from the Kubert Art School back in I think it was 76. This was like their yearbook. Each student got to draw a page, and so you've got like the first words of like Tom Yeats, Steve Bissett, like all these different guys, and then Kubert worked on the cover, and like this is Joe crawling out of the cover here.
That's cool.
And so this is it's a pride. It's a little pride of my collection.
That's
So
beautiful.
you said that, I was like, oh, I gotta show it off. But before we get to the next question, we actually hit 50 likes.
What's up, Dr. Otaku?
We're gonna give this away. All you gotta do is type in #stranger, and same as last time. This time it's just #stranger. We're gonna give you a minute or two to get all those hashtags in. That way we can spin it and we can get everybody entered that wants to enter. But as Sebastian mentioned earlier, like, this is a piece of history. This is something that you're gonna want to keep. Not Clinton, not Stranger Comics, just #stranger. If you do #stranger comics, it won't register and you won't be entered. Even though you won the last
strangercomics.com and
even though you won the last one, why are you entering this one? He wants them both. He's collecting them all like Infinity Stones. But I mean, we've been touching on art. Something I wanted to highlight, like, this is a recent Niobe and Dura that I got, and I loved this art.
Oh, that's cool.
Quite possibly, maybe my second favorite cover artist that y'all got to do this.
Amber, she comes on our Thursday lives. I do like Thursday Live on Instagram, and she's one of our Thursday Live peeps. And we found her because she won a art competition we did for Nibish's death about 2-3 years ago. Right. And she's just become a really good collaborative, she's a great friend. And so I wanted to give her, give her a real gig and give her another cover. And she's absolutely amazing. And
my favorite so far has been Tahani Farr and the covers that she has done.
Have I shown you the new Tahani Farr?
Yes, you have.
Dropping a Kickstarter.
You have.
Fucking crazy.
Oh, that's your most recent campaign, right? That's coming.
Yeah, May 13th. And we got a new. Here, let's check this out. There's some Jay Lee original shit right there for you.
Get you pulled up and get you all big.
Wow.
Make me big, guy.
I made you big, baby.
Thank you, bro. Thank
you. Black Spiders. Make sure it's just Stranger, no S at the end of it. I don't want you to get left out or anything like that. And you said that's Jay Lee.
That's Jay Lee, and then we've got other Tahani Farrs that dropped WonderCon. We have a couple of these left, but yeah,
those are phenomenal.
Yeah, we have a lot of beautiful Tahanis. Oh, and then I sold a Tahani original the other night on my Thursday Live. Oh, look at that!
Yeah, it's Tahani.
Look at that!
I actually have the first ever Tahani remark that she did on a comic.
You do? Oh, I got to show you this then, bro. You want to see something crazy? So Dr. Otaku is currently in the lead. We're doing an auction with a bunch of remarks, including my stupid Chibi Seb mark. Check this shit out. We did this on Thursday Live. We just started this. So there is Richard Thornsberry does the Death Dealer homage as Morkamoa. There's me as Vastar, like a French Vastar. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. There's Daryl as a dwarf, and there's Tahani as Assessor.
Well, there you go.
So we've got a whole bunch of people doing Rick as Morkamoa, me as French Vastar, Daryl as Buxton, and Tahani as Assessor. And see, Dr. Otaku's in the chat. She's currently winning an auction that's ongoing all through StrangerCon. She's currently winning the auction. So if you want to jump in on that shit,
I'm going to show y'all one thing, and then we're going to spin this thing. He was showing a cool little sketch. I got a cool little sketch of my own.
Oh, Sean, yes, coming. That's hilarious.
That's me holding Sebastian on the front of the Titanic.
I'm French Kate Winslet,
He says, draw me like one of your French girls, Seb.
Guys, see, look, it's just French all over the place.
That's me right there. That's this is quite possibly the most ridiculous sketch I've ever received.
It's so fun. This shit is epic.
Oh, but that's hilarious. But let's do the giveaway real quick, and then we will hop into couple more questions and I'll let you go. I've kept y'all here so much longer than I intended to, but I'm having a good time. So,
I'm having a great
and
time.
I'm hoping that y'all are as well. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna spin this hashtag stranger and see what's what. So good luck, everyone. This is for the Niobe. She is life. Who's gonna get it? Sarad Pak. Ah, man, I'm gonna.
Pakyari.
Pakyari.
Congratulations.
Congrats, bud. Hey,
Congrats.
It's a great
We
book.
got a winner.
Great book. Congratulations on that. Hit me up on Instagram, and that way I can get your address and everything like that, and I can get it shipped to you. But big congrats on that. Our next giveaway is going to be at 75. At 75, let's do. Which one do you think is better for a 75, Seb?
Oh fuck, you're asking me. I would say most people might want to go with the Dusu because it's a video game variant of Altered Beast.
Yep. That's one.
Yeah, I think so. If you folks like video game variant homages, we do a shitload of them. We got Zelda, Altered Beast, Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, all sorts of fun stuff. But that's a super, super fun one right there. You see, I knew someone was going to say it. Maddie Freeze is like both.
You know what? Let's do both. At 75, we'll do both.
That's a fucking you got Jay Lee right there doing as with King Wasso, and you've got which is just sick.
That covers it's
tough, man.
Phenomenal. Jay Lee is awesome. His work is fantastic.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. He's a beast. Yeah, a lot of J's coming to a lot of J covers on our next Kickstarter. So if you guys just before I do space this, can I just give a little shout out to kind of like what we have cooking?
Oh, absolutely. Let me make you big again.
Maybe big. Thank you.
Because I have a question pertaining to what y'all have cooking.
All right, so I'm seeing if I've got it on the table. I do. Oh, that's cool. That's lucky. Okay, so I've got this too. Oh, yes, that's fun. All right, so for folks that might not know, that spins off from the Untamed, what I was pitching earlier. We have the new story in Niobe's World of Asunder. Actually,
I'm gonna have to cut you off real quick because there's a name I don't want you to say because it's gonna be the answer to a trivia question.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. No, I won't say the name. Don't worry.
Okay.
So basically, the Niobe and the Stranger.
There you go.
They go on a mission post the Untamed, and this story is kind of a cool story because it literally is about Niobe's first kill, and it's wrestling. Her armor of innocence is essentially chipped away. She sees how ugly the world is because she's young. She's a kid. To her, the world is a bit more black and white, and then it becomes a lot more gray as she. This is called First Kill, and it has Nabi older and younger in it. We have a couple of different versions you can get that you can pre-order right now at your local comic book shop. So if you want to pre-order Tales of Asunder, Niobe and the Stranger at your local comic shop, it is the most important time for an indie publisher, or they literally might not order the book. So when it drops June 7th, if you haven't pre-ordered it at your local comic book shop, it might not be there because comic book shops, they generally have only a certain amount of room. They'll only essentially put out comics that they know they can sell. So please pre-order this. If you don't know where to go or you can pre-order at your local shop, go to strangercomics.com, scroll down, and you can click the link to League of Comic Geeks, and you can pre-order it and they'll ship it to you directly. Go to strangercomics.com, and our 1 in 25 ratio variants are these right here. The David Mack exclusives 1 in 25 ratio variants. And here's what you want to do, Ty. You want a 1 in 25 because there's a set. You want to take me home.
Hey, there's Seb. Right on the cover. Right there.
No, that's not Jared Leto. That's not. I'm not like, he's my C- grade. I'm like the A grade Jared Leto right here. That's what you can get right there. You can get the David Mack set of Niobe and the Stranger for a 1 in 25 stored David Mack ratio variant right there.
Those would be some dope die cuts, Seb.
Oh yeah, the die. Right. So get on this shit. Pre-order Tales of Asunder, the Untamed. Right, it's with the hand of the devil. So that's the thing is Black Spiders. It's a great note because what a lot of folks that have that when we do the pitch, there is the Stranger, there's the hand of the devil, that's the blue sword that they both wield. Now when the Stranger wield, and I'll show you in the Untamed itself. Here is the hand of the devil, and there is holding the Stranger. So it's the kind of the two images in one. So, and when you read the books, you'll actually start to kind of see, now and again, we have played with a lot of symbolism with the devil versus the goddess of light. And essentially both are waging war for Niobe's spirit, and they'll move heaven or hell to make her their champion, is what we say. So pre-order Tales of Asunder issue 1 at your local comic book shop. Take me home. Be a sinner.
This really is important. Like we've laughed and joked and everything. This is very important, especially ordering through your comic book shop and everything. This lets the shops know that this is a title that we want in the shop. This is a title that we want you to start carrying regularly, and it keeps Stranger Comics in your LCSs and things like that. So it's very important to do stuff like that.
And actually, it's funny you say that because literally we came back around with the Untamed trade paperbacks that you can also pre-order at your local comic book shop. So this set right here are the first 2 Untamed trade paperbacks. You can also pre-order at your local comic book shop if you want to support them and not order directly from us. Please support them. Get this from them. Pick up the follow-up story with all these wonderful variants. So there's a lot of symbolism, and we start off actually in that storyline with Niobe older, and she has a bunch of human dudes that have surrendered after war, and she essentially is about to execute them. Mm-hmm. And he's calling her out essentially to say, how did killing get so easy? And he wants to surrender. So the moral dilemma for her is for her to say, well, do you just get a free pass for essentially raping and killing and murdering our tribe of people just to say, hey, we give up now. We surrendered. And what's the difference of murder and all these various moral dilemmas that she has to answer? So then she's thrust back into her past as a young girl with a stranger on her first kill, and her memory will inform her decision, which we'll get at the very end of the story. Does she go through with executing these prisoners? So it's a pretty cool one shot, So I like to play with moral dilemmas.
So before we move on, I'm going to do another giveaway. This isn't like related. This is trivia related. We've talked a lot about the Untamed and the Stranger and everything that happens in the world of Asunder.
And I've frozen again, haven't I?
You have frozen again. But like it's a cute freeze. Like you were smiling and grinning and everything like that.
Yeah, it was nice.
I've frozen again.
Oh no, there you go. No, you're back.
You're back.
You're back. He can't hear us.
I'm back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. Sort of. For anyone still watching in the chat, we're going to do a quick trivia. First one to answer in the comments and tell me the name will win a trade paperback of The Untamed Killing Floor. This was just shown by Sebastian. Tell me the name of the Stranger in the comments. And the first person to say the name, Bobby said, text me the answer.
Text me first.
Telling me the name.
Are there people that haven't, if they were smart, you know what they would do? They would literally go and download the first issue for free.
The first issue is on strangercomics.com. But surely there's a Stranger Comics fan watching that knows the name of the stranger.
I bloody hope so, because there's a sprinkling. My man True Folks is OG Stranger Comics fan. Allison, she was on earlier. Dr. Utaku, she just popped on. These are folks that should know the answer.
We probably talk so long we put them to sleep.
I do apparently have that soothing voice.
It's the accent.
It's the nasally monotone that I like to put forth.
Somebody said they can't read or write; they just like the pictures.
Oh boy!
But no, first, we're gonna carry on. But yes, the first person that can tell me the name of the stranger wins a trade paperback of the Untamed Killing Floor. Oh yeah, Helvetica, let the chat eat. And we will give that away. And then at 75 likes, we'll give away issue 1 of Steal a Fool and Dusu. But the stranger returns. Now, if I'm being honest, this is something I've been wanting for a long time, ever since I finished reading the Untamed titles. It's not that I dislike Niobe or the stories surrounding her or anything. It's just the stranger is what drew me into the world and everything that started it all. And the mystique surrounding him was mesmerizing. And so was this return something you've held on to in your back pocket all this time, or was this brought on by a random thought that snowballed into something bigger, or was it like fans continuously asking for this reunion?
Yeah, a lot of it very much so. It's funny because I'm writing finishing up the Untamed Still a Fool series. But it was a series, it was essentially just, I can't remember how it came to me, but just finding this, the visual of that scene of her essentially being called a demon for massacre. And, Nathaniel mentioned something earlier, which was really, I think, key to how I view life and shit, is empathy. And Nathaniel said something kind of poignant earlier, which was to the effect of, you have to listen, listen in the sense of, so I really kind of vibed on what you were saying as far as the anti-hero is, you've got to be able to also fall in love with the anti-hero and see yourself within that anti-hero. Because then I think it creates empathy for people that you don't agree with in life, right? Whether it's political or social or whatever that case is, most motherfuckers now are just like, oh, if I disagree on one thing, therefore you are my enemy as a whole. Whereas I think, at least in my day when I was younger, you can disagree about a few key points, but still agree on other points and learn to have empathy or understanding for maybe where you're coming from may be different, but where can we find common ground and learn why and go, oh, why and why, and maybe and dare to be wrong as well. I should, dare to be vulnerable and have that empathy. So I wanted to have that kind of comic with Niobe kind of losing that sight of listening and going, oh, I was stubborn and didn't listen when I was really, really young. I need to listen again, and maybe I'll still kill this motherfucker. Maybe he deserves it.
Yeah.
But it's essentially we now are the judge, jury, and executioner in our mind, and we're quick to condemn. So anyway, without sounding all soapboxy and shit, the ending to that piece is really going to essentially, I put the reader in the perspective of Niobe to say, would you go through with this?
Right.
That was my goal for the end of that issue.
I'm very much looking forward to it, because it's, like I said, it's something that it's the thing that drew me into the world to begin with. And so I'm very much looking forward to getting back to that character whose name still nobody has said.
Nobody said it. It's honestly heartbreaking. That means, how many people are watching this chat right now? There's 18 people watching. Not one person's read this shit.
Well, honestly, there was like 28 people watching. I think they logged off to go look and see what the name was and then come back. But yeah.
You know what, though? They're not going to get it unless they read the 7th issue. But it's actually in the first issue on one particular page, and I could give it a
Look at there. Somebody got it. Finally.
Oh, look at that. Yes.
Look at there.
Congratulations.
Way to go, Clint. I'm proud of you, buddy.
He won Beatbox and Tune too, so he's cleaning house.
Whoa, look at that. That shit is epic.
Yeah.
Little luck, little research.
Yeah. His Google foo was strong.
So here's the crazy shit is people don't realize, but I'll give you the we don't give away his name to the very end, but you know what? It's actually on the ferryman's coin on the fucking cover.
I don't know if you can be able to.
No, it's too pixelated, but it's actually on the ferryman's coin on the cover. So
there you go. I wonder if I can.
Oh, thank you, Clint. I appreciate that.
Thank
you. I appreciate that very much.
No, I can't get it on mine either.
Yeah, little Easter egg, Sean.
Exactly.
No, there it is. There it is. Harith with the number 7. Look at that. I thought I was so clever doing that.
No, that's the kind of things that I really appreciate when creators do stuff like that. It's fantastic. Before we say, hey, let's get out of here, there was a few questions that were asked, and I don't want to seem like I'm completely ignoring the chat. The first one was Dastin Pakyari. He said, Nathaniel, what was your inspiration for beatbox and tune? I think we covered that when you talked about when you were growing up. I think you said, was it Montana or Wyoming?
Yeah, Montana. I didn't mention this before, but for a period of time, I was doing classical ballet. And so when we were talking about music, I was going to bring that up because classical ballet was another thing that really inspired me. And that's part of the story, actually. Like the main character is a ballet dancer.
Yes. I was actually I was going to pull that out and show, because there are panels of the main character actually.
There was a time in my life when I thought that for sure I was going to either go into acting or be a professional dancer. And I got to dance in Austria and a few places here in the US. And so it had a huge impact on, like, classical music and dance had a huge impact on how I viewed the world for a very long time when I was younger. So, and that is actually what led me into acting and what led me into writing. So always take a chance on something in life, because you never know where that thing may end up leading. Life is kind of like a weird spider web of like things you just try. And some of them are just things you try, and some of them become like your passion. So I think it was a little bit of that and a little bit of just sitting around and thinking about what do I have? What can I contribute? And how would I execute that?
Right. Oh, that's brilliant. I love it.
I was a dancer too. That's funny.
You were. It was great.
I danced in a knee-high follies like talent show in 5th grade to In Sync with Sean. The last.
Oh one. Man, you got that video? Send me that.
I've been hunting that video. It's elusive.
Sean's probably got it. He's just waiting for the right moment to use it as leverage.
I'd love to see that. I was a dancer at the biggest gay club in Europe for about 2 nights, and that's all I could handle.
And then you found out it was a gay club, or like what?
No. I knew. I knew that the pretty ladies would go there, and I would be, but yeah,
You were the eye candy, huh?
I was 17 at the time, and
So the next question was from Chaz Freeze. I don't want to. We're gonna keep going. This is a question for either of you. If you could write a story with a modern comic character, who who would be your dream characters to write for?
Like a character. I'm assuming
I'm,
like a
I'm
character
assuming
that
he means like a character that's
established
established
character.
already. Yeah.
That's easy for me. I'll just say the Incredible Hulk is easy for me. I'm an Incredible Hulk junkie. That's my all-time favorite hero by a billion miles.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I mean, I can't afford those original issues, but that's a great one. Like I would love to own them. Which run of Hulk is your favorite?
No, as far as if I was to write a modern comic, it would be the Savage Hulk.
Savage
I'd make Hulk. I'd literally have Hulk like fucking decimate and murder every single Avenger. I'd get all the payback for those fucking shit movies where they just fucking just like, oh, you know, when writers go like, oh, I have a new bad guy or a new character to introduce and he's really strong. Oh, bring in the Hulk, beat him up to go, oh shit, I guess he must be really powerful. I hate that shit. Oh, Thor in a fight. Oh, I remember my dad. One punch, you're knocked out. Oh, Hulkbuster armor. Sure, why not? Sunset's come the fuck out of here. Good lord. Yeah, so a bit salty. I'm a bit salty.
No, I get it. Nathan, what about you?
I think like I was gonna say Batman because it's been something that like I always loved Batman, and like writing a character that's done so many iterations of a story would be like really fun, I think. But then when I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like, well, I think it'd be really fun to do like a Two-Face comic, you know,
Right.
just like just about him, you know, and like his dual sides. You know,
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun because he has like that part of him where like the coin where there's like chance in everything that he does. And I think that and the two monologues of like him discussing with himself as to like, you know, how he's going to approach things and using that as a decider, it would just be like the theater in me would be like them having discussions with themselves about these deep philosophical aspects of their decisions and then flipping a coin and leaving it up to chance. Like, I think that would be really fun to do.
It's very
like,
interesting.
Really like a long story in depth, like just about him, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because I get Batman vibes from this panel in
For sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Those, like I get serious Gotham vibes from that image.
It's funny because like I was like when I was writing the script, that was not necessarily like the first thing that we were going to see, but I was like, we have to see the character in the costume, and you know, I was like, every hero has their establishing, you know, building shot, and I was like, why can't we? Let's just do it. It'll be fun.
Yeah. No, that's solid. The next question was actually from Helvetica to both Nathan and Sebastian. As a creator of your own idea on paper, how long did your ideas take to come to fruition, and how long until the idea became the final draft of what it is today?
Well, for me, like I came up with the original concept, and I was writing on Beatbox and Tune like on and off for years. So for the last 5 years developing it. And I have it to the point where I have it mapped out that I could do like 30 issues, or I could do, you know, 100 issues if I really wanted to go that far. And I had the ability to do so. So a long time, you know, but like from like the point where it became like an idea to like a solid story, probably like a good year, 2 years of like just thinking about things, developing it, fleshing it out, writing, rewriting. And then from that point, it was just like life gets in the way, you know, other goals, other things happen. And then finally, when you're ready, you just sit down and write it. And things actually happen fairly quickly when you make the decision to just take the idea or the overarching concept and just tell the story. I don't know if that's true for you, Sebastian, but for me, it's like once I've made that decision, everything just happens pretty quickly from there.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty similar. Like I was saying earlier with the Untamed, you know, the idea for that 7 days kind of, you know, vomited out in like 10 minutes, I guess. and I was like, oh shit, this purge, this personal purge. I was like, well, that would make a good story. And then I got a piece of advice from a producer on how to construct an act structure, which was building out the 3-act structure and the scenes and how many beating out the scenes, but that sounds kind of perverse. Like writing scenes in small sentence structures to go, okay, cool. This essentially takes, this scene is accomplishing this, then this, and this, then cutting and pasting. I did that as an initial exercise. And then honestly, when I wrote the script, it took me a week to write a 120-page movie script of The Untamed. And then I broke that down into issues. So, but then the rewrites and developments, that can take a long time. But when if I force myself to sit in front of the computer and I'm in the right space, it comes quick. It comes quick. It's just, like you said, Nathaniel, like juggling life and business.
Is that almost like a muscle that you have to work out all the time?
Yeah,
I think it does, because I'm writing a Nigerian vampire comic right now with Yetide Badaki. If you guys seen American Gods, she plays the goddess of seduction and Bilquis. So she and I did a deal to write a comic called Niger Vamp. It's her idea, and we're writing it together and publishing it and whatnot. So getting back into that muscle, which is not asunder, but still, feeling that flow
of writing, right?
The pacing and writing,
yeah. That's
it's funny because sometimes like you'll be like, when I'm like writing an issue, like I've written 6 issues of Beatbox and Tunes so far, but like when it goes from like the thinking is like what takes the longest, and then for me the writing is like some days like I'll sit down and it'll be a late night and you just have a flow of consciousness and everything just spills out onto the page, grammatically incorrect, spelling errors, everything, but it's there, and it could be just like, in one evening you could write 15 pages, and that's happened to me several times. But the lead up to that is like the life in between, and the thinking about the idea, so that when the idea kind of bursts forth, you just put it on the paper. That's just more of a mechanical act of writing it all down, because you already are kind of seeing it in your head.
Oh, that's interesting. I've kind of hinted at it, but like I'm trying to write myself. My biggest issue is trying to do what you just said that you actually accomplish, and that's the grammatical errors, the spelling, and like all these mistakes. But you've written 15 pages. My big issue is I'll write a paragraph and I'll try to perfect it, and I'll try to write it all together, and like I can't, and it's this mental block that I have that I can't get away from. And so
what you should do? You should get a typewriter, because I actually wrote the first screenplay version of Beatbox and Tune on a typewriter, and it just eliminates distraction. And it's a physical form of writing, and it's like people don't do it anymore, but you could get an old typewriter for $50 in condition, put a spool of like thing on there and just type away. And it forces you to make the mistakes, because you cannot physically correct it until you pull it out. And then your second draft is essentially you typing it onto a Word document, and you're already making the edits in that second draft. So I've done that several times for things I've written, like plays and other stuff, and I found it to be super helpful.
I like that idea, actually. It's super helpful. The next question, and I guess the last one, since we've kind of answered the other one, is I don't know if this question has been asked, but has Seb read any manga?
I saw that. I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have, to be honest. Yes, no, I have actually. No, I have, and I can't remember what the fuck it was. I had to read a bunch because I was up to be a showrunner for a show that in China, and I had to read a whole bunch of manga, and I don't remember any of the titles. I mean, they were really good.
Was Vampire Hunter D? Was there manga on that? Because that was an anime that I watched. I didn't know.
It was an anime, right? Yeah, I think they had a bunch of manga on it as well. But we published that. I didn't write that one.
Okay.
But yeah, we published Vampire Hunter D.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's just, you know, I'm not opposed. Now, when the stuff I read was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think I read a lot more novels than I do other mediums at the moment. And I'm about to write my first kind of massive monolithic fairy tale novel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'll probably end up picking that up.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What's going to happen is I'll pick it up, and then about 6 months later, you'll offer it to a YouTube channel for less than what I picked it up for.
Thanks, Ty. Thanks. just trying to
gotta give you a hard time.
Just trying to help out your peeps, you know.
So, hey, Nathan, Sebastian, like this kind of brings it to like a close for the night. I really appreciate both of you coming on here. Like you've kind of given me a lot of insight into the worlds that y'all live in, as well as sharing so much with the people in the comments. It means a whole lot to me. It means a whole lot to the MadHouse. And so I really appreciate it. I really mean that.
Thank you, bro.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
If you're still here and you aren't subscribed to the MadHouse, please do so. If you aren't subscribed to Stranger Comics, please go over to their channel and do so. We sell here auctions every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Every Tuesday is Deep Freeze. Every Thursday is Mad Chatter. We have a lot of stuff going on. Next month, we have Jimmy Palmiotti coming on for Delirium.
That's cool.
Wow, cool.
Fantastic. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to have such a good time. I'm going to have a hard time not fanboying out about a lot of the stuff. So be sure to come back next month. We're going to talk about the Pro, all kinds of fun stuff that he's worked on, as well as his wife, Amanda. But it's going to be a good time. So again, everybody, I thank Sebastian. I thank Nathan. I thank all of you for coming by and giving us likes and sharing it out. It means the world to me. And until next time, I will leave you with this same intro. If I can find it. See, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
What?
Goodbye,
Give
Sean.
a quick Sean plug.
Yeah. So,
Hold on to your butts.
until next time, guys.